And in a moment, there we go. I've hit record on our Zoom call as well. So I'm going to keep the suspense up a little bit more, but this is somebody I'm going to introduce you to in a moment. But first things first, thank you for being here. My name is Rahul George. I'm the founder of solopreneurs.me, and things have been amazing in this month, and they're just getting better. So on that note, I'm going to introduce you now, and in a moment, she will introduce herself in the best way that she knows to. But here's sort of getting into it. I want you to put your hands together, put your hearts together to welcome Kartika Nair. She is the founder of SynchroShakti, a personal development brand that's geared to empower people of various walks of life find their inner power and create their own miracles. And this is through the teachings of mindfulness, the law of attraction, Ho'oponopono, and neuro linguistic programming. The last one, especially, is one of my favorite modalities, but more on that in a bit. So I'm going to switch the mic over, and I am going to ask Kartika to jump right in and say hello. Hello to you, the listeners, viewers, wherever you may be.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in. Today's session is going to be powerful, so make sure you're taking some notes. Rahul, you did a fantastic introduction. I couldn't have said it better myself. But just to give a reintroduction, my name is Kartika and I run SynchroShakti. I've been doing this since 2011. And like Rahul said, we empower all kinds of people to reach their best, live the life that they've desired through mindfulness and positive psychology, law of attraction, NLP, hope,
Awesome.
those modalities. But the major thing, I just call all of that as positive psychology. So that's what I put out there. So I think you gave a perfect introduction. I don't have anything more to add to it.
Excellent. So I'm going to use that as a segue to maybe connect to why we are here today. And this is the beauty of of technology, of being a solopreneur, an entrepreneur. Best laid plans, because I just realized that the podcast will get synced back into the actual episode, because there's still one little technology piece missing, which is this conversation being synced back into the podcast. Having said that, the good thing is that we have this going, so the listeners will actually get to hear you. So just sort of imagine that they are listening to you, and while we've told them what happened, they're still going to hear your message. So I'm going to continue on from here. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be talking about something. In fact, when I spoke to Kartika, I said, hey, I actually want to talk to people who have genuinely made massive shifts in their life. And I've been following your story. In fact, you were one of my heroes, one of my role models when I was starting to model out my business. And thanks to Siddharth, our common mentor, Siddharth Rajshekar. And interestingly, this is again the power of manifestation. When I was actually building my site, I saw your site, and something in my head said almost 4-5 months ago, interesting. It'll be really, really cool to do an interview with you. I had no idea about this present. I'm talking 4 months ago, where the whole environment was very different. I had no idea what I really would be doing, excepting vaguely that I would be working with solopreneurs. So here we are, sitting across in the same city, as it turns out, today. And very interesting that what Kartika actually brought back was, you know what, let's talk about the top 10 mindset hacks for success. Right? Because and here's the thing, if you are a solopreneur, you work with heart, you want to give people so much, but success is something which is fleeting if you don't have certain things in place. So I'm going to switch it to you now, and maybe you could tell us what would be the first mindset hack to keep in mind for success, to be successful and to really grow an amazing business.
Okay, so thank you for giving people the opportunity to hear this information. It's very important. And so first thing I want to say is, in no amount of hard work makes up for your lack of alignment. What that means essentially is you can work your butt off in your life and not touch success if you're not energetically, mentally, emotionally aligned to the abundance of success. Most people are mentally, emotionally, spiritually aligned to the lack of success, even though they're working really hard towards success because they're complaining, condemning, criticizing, living in a very chaotic state. You know, you've got all your 90-day challenge, I got to do my funnels. But what's happening at the energetic level is they're more in the state of freaking out than in the state of actually being in alignment with success. So today, whole 10 mindset hacks is more on how do you get yourself aligned to success and then merge that with your efforts, because then it'll come super fast. Super fast, it means yes, you're still going to have to enjoy your work ethic and work hard. You will keep doing that if you're not aligned mentally. There's no way you can just get to success without being aligned. So the first hack that we've put in our list is meditation. Meditation doesn't seem to be used. It doesn't come to people's mind as the first. The first hack I think is visualization, right? But you cannot use your mind constructively to create if you cannot learn to observe your mind first. Meaning, your mind is taking you in 500 directions constantly. Worried about, you know, setting up your YouTube channel. You're worried about, you know, how much investment do I have to do for this and that. And your mind is not calm for you to use it in a constructive direction. It's if you have a chaotic mind, you feel chaotic, you act chaotic, you have chaotic results. Meditation becomes your foundation there so that you can observe those thoughts and emotions and behavior. Once you can hold your mind in the palm of your hand, you can use it constructively. Okay, then you do your rest of your success mindset stuff. Abundance mindset, all of that. But the first foundation is, if just imagine you're trying to visualize and then you start visualizing and then your mind goes, what's for dinner? Okay, now you just broke the flow and now you're not able to feel things. It's, you know, so your mind can be the place you need to learn to allow it to settle down. That is where meditation comes in. Any questions here,
Could you give us, perfect timing. So could you give us an example? Because typically, and I've seen this, you know, working with solopreneurs, you know, mentoring them, coaching them, helping them, and even being in spaces where people, you know, as solopreneurs come to or entrepreneurs come to learn, right? Meditation is something that is a lot of times it's either misunderstood or people have very sort of confused notions about it, right? The first thing typically is I can't meditate.
Yeah.
So what would be your suggestion to them?
Okay, so meditation is something that is built over time. It's not something that no meditator sets of the universe, nothing like that happens. It's something that because we practiced chaos for 28 plus years of our lives, right? That's 50 years of our life, we've practiced chaos. What comes to us is chaotic thinking. The moment someone tells you something or something happens in your reality, your instant response is always a reaction. There is no actual practice of observing a situation. We are used to reacting immediately. There's chaos, right? So meditation here is not something that you just get. It's something that you build as a discipline. If you're looking to play at the level that you're trying to play as a solo entrepreneur. If you're just trying to, you know, like Vic says, right? You want to build do whatever. You don't need meditation. Build a strong, solid foundation for the Burj Khalifa that you want to build. Foundation. You cannot build a Burj on a shaky foundation. That's where the whole meditation, and by meditation, I don't mean transcendental or mantras and all that. What I mean is pure mindfulness, pure observation. Mindfulness is your ability to observe what's happening inside of you and outside of you without judging.
So could you give us a how? So again, you know, this is something that again a lot of times solopreneurs want to know. Because everything is about, you know, I'm one person, I do everything best, I can't outsource things. Somewhere in their mind there's already a whole bunch of things going on. But like this is something I picked up from you. What you're saying is from practice chaos to practice observation, right? So 20, 30 years of practice chaos, which means they've been practicing it, so they're good at it.
Mm-hmm.
to practice observation, which is what they're probably not so good at,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, what would be maybe three, let's say, three hows
Mm.
to do meditation? Like, how can someone do it? Let's
Okay.
say 1, 2, and 3. What would those three be?
Okay.
Or
So
maybe you can pick your top three that really work for you. So you really like, you feel it from the inside.
okay. So mindfulness is not something where it's like, yeah, do this exercise, and do.
Mm.
Mindfulness is actually a huge way of life where you practice
Mm-hmm.
non-judgment, non-resistance, non-meaning in your everyday life. At this point, I've confused everyone because they're like, what's going on? We were thinking, now you've gone into some complex spiritual thinking. No, it's pretty, I'll simplify it. So, yeah, so top three house. Okay, again, I'm telling you the what's. I'm not yet telling you.
Sure, sure. Go for it. Go for it.
So when we say practice chaos, what we've practiced is living unconsciously, letting your
Correct.
conscious negativity
Mm-hmm.
inject itself into everything that's happening in your life. You're not
Mm-hmm.
consciously, you don't want to be chaotic. Consciously, you want to be calm, you want to be peaceful, you want to be
Correct.
powerful. But unconsciously, you've been taught how to be powerless. You've been taught how to react, complain, condemn, criticize, compare.
Uh-huh.
All of that is what you're injecting into your day-to-day life. So
Correct.
we talk about mindfulness being a way of life and not three
Mm.
exercises I can give you right now.
Mm.
Because when you understand the way of life, it becomes something that you're anyways living. It's not something
Mm.
you do as an exercise. It's something
Mm.
you're living. It's like a different dimension to practicing something.
Mm.
So the core principles is
Mm.
non-judgment, which is seeing things
Mm-hmm.
as it is.
So non-judgment is basically you're saying seeing things as is,
As it
as they
is.
are. Okay.
As they are without creating
Mm-hmm.
meaning, right? So, meaning would be,
Correct.
for example, 28 years into my life, I decided to leave my family and, move out and live on my own.
Uh-huh.
10 minutes into me living on my own, 10 minutes into it, walk into the bathroom, I slip horribly and I fall,
Wow.
bad fall. Now, judgment in that moment would be creating a storyline saying, this is bad.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why this is bad is because it means that the universe doesn't want me to live on my own, or
Got
I'm
it.
capable of living on my own. I'm not good,
Mm.
supposed to be taken care of by other people. I made the
Mm.
storyline that would keep me locked
Got
up
it.
in life. I would never explore the greatness because now I've created the storyline. We call that
Got
judgment.
it. Yep.
Meaning
Mm-hmm.
bad because it means I'm not good enough, because it means I'm not in control of my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I see
Mm-hmm.
that's a judgment. Seeing things as it is
Mm-hmm.
soapy water physics
Got it.
to fall. Okay? They're
Right.
suffering in the process of seeing things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When you practice non-judgment, you can evaluate
Mm.
a situation, which means soapy water, I can get up, I can take something and sweep it
Sweep
off.
it off. Yeah.
Solution oriented
Mm.
behavior. Now I've gone beyond
Literally, like remove your obstacle out of your path in your control.
control. Yeah. What can I do? If I cannot control it, I accept it. Somewhere
Correct.
in that acceptance, it will move. Something else will show up.
Mm.
I don't accept something, which brings us to
Mm.
non-resistance, right? The lack of accepting something is apparent in your life.
Mm.
You resist something, you will keep it stuck to you like glue. If you resist
Mm.
money problems, you resist the amount of money you have to invest in your business, you
Mm.
will always be stuck with not
Mm.
enough money to invest in your business because you're fighting.
Mm.
What you fight, you fuel. You give so much
Got
energy
it.
fighting
Mm.
instead. Don't have money now? That's okay. I'm going to put a goal, figure out a way, sell my books, put my
Got it.
on eBay, find a way, get the money, start.
Whatever it takes, right?
Yeah, whatever it takes, but solution oriented. Instead of
Mm-hmm.
wasting
Mm-hmm.
energy, judging, resisting, making meaning, which takes a lot of
Correct.
energy. With
Yeah,
mindfulness,
absolutely.
we're doing the opposite. We are
Mm.
what is a woman is getting beat up by her husband, for example. This is
Mm.
the
Mm-hmm.
question your reader would say, or your listener would say, what what kind of acceptance do I do in a situation where
Correct.
husband is beating you up? If
Mm.
now, I make bold statements, that's also why I run a YouTube channel. Okay, if anyone wants to,
Mm. Mm.
I make sweeping statements, and people
Yeah.
come to me ask me why. How do you make this statement?
Correct.
One is hitting your flesh and bone. By the way, flesh and bone is not you. It's like saying, I'm my nails. No, nails is keratin. It's part of how
Correct.
consciousness forms of
Mm.
But that's
So
not you.
I have a slight tweak on that because this is something I hear very often,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm only right now speaking in an Indian context.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of, because I as I said, I work with solopreneurs and primarily solopreneurs who are women.
Yeah.
Now, this is something that I hear a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them are not necessarily poor,
Mm-hmm.
but they believe they're in a situation where they do not have money,
Yeah.
right? What would be your what would be your observation or advice, because obviously you've been doing this kind of work for a while, and you work with all people who have all kinds of mindsets,
Mm-hmm.
because right now we've talked about the non-judgment, and now we're talking about acceptance, which is basically letting go, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now I have my approaches to helping them through that. It'll be interesting to hear what would be your approach when it comes to acceptance,
Mm-hmm.
which they're able to develop, because that, as you said, in a way, that is actually practice meditation. It is actually practice mindfulness without having to go away from their home, or go to vipassana, whatever. Those things are important, but they're living in within the grihasti. So whether they are single moms, or whether they are family, what would be your you know your observation, or your advice, or your point of view to them, since you work with people on a regular basis?
So in mindfulness, there is no concept of problem. There is no problem.
Mm.
I'm stuck because my husband won't give me money, or I'm stuck because
Mm.
I don't have money. The acceptance comes in also accepting this current mental paradigm you have about your situation.
Interesting. So
Even if
accepting the current mental paradigm, meaning the current mental whatever's in their head,
in their head about
accepting that it is there.
it is there. I have this belief that my husband won't give me, even if it's true, accept it.
Correct.
By
Correct.
acceptance, it doesn't mean I surrender and I allow him to take over my life for the rest of my life.
Interesting. So
It's
I'm going to
not
just pause there for a second. You're saying acceptance doesn't mean I surrender to that, because again, in some context, surrender is used in a certain way, but
yeah,
here the surrender is not to say that I am your prisoner and I surrender. I just accept that, okay, I will not get money from him, for
yeah.
instance.
I may or may not. I don't know. I could be
I
surprised.
like that response. It's I may or may not, because you're absolutely right. A lot of times, and they have found this, a lot of times they have not asked in this context, which is, I want to invest in my money, in my business, which basically is meant to generate money, versus I want to invest just in jewelry or clothes or whatever,
Mhm. Exactly.
right? So that's an interesting take on meditation.
Yes.
What would be your third point? So you said one is non-judgment. Two is acceptance. What would be another way of experiencing meditation and mindfulness on a daily basis?
Being present, being here. So
Hmm.
present is living in reality, not
Mm-hmm.
fusing yourself into fears of the future and worries of the past, right? Which for
Right.
entrepreneurs is like huge asset.
Hmm.
Failed,
Hmm.
obviously you failed. We've all failed.
Correct.
Being
Correct.
entrepreneurs is falling on your face, right? That
Mm-hmm.
causes you to fear failure in the future because you're like, I
Hmm.
tried these courses, I tried this, it didn't work.
Correct.
To invest my money in this, I don't know what's going to happen. If you literally, you know how Siddharth says, don't think, just do the program.
Correct.
Most people, I'm telling you, we were at that event the other day, and we had like 150 people who all recognized me and jumped to ask me these questions. And the
Correct.
major thing that I don't know if Siddharth has figured knows this about them, but they're all in paralysis of analysis, not in actually
Yep.
doing what's happening. They're
Hmm.
past and future pacing, not in the actual activity.
Hmm.
They're not in the actual activity. It takes them 2 months to create a YouTube account and put their first
Correct.
video instead of 2 minutes to finish it. So,
Correct.
because we are worried about the camera and so massive part of meditation is
Yeah, guilty as charged. What was it, like 13 years of, no, no, we don't have the right technology, so YouTube has a different expectation, so we must not. And that's a beautiful segue, because I'd like you to share with the audience, both listening and watching, what was it like receiving what was it, the silver play button? Is that right?
yeah, silver play button.
So when you're watching this I probably put this up on Facebook as well. For a moment, if you're only listening to this, Kartika's holding up her silver play button, which is a huge deal. in the world of YouTube and even as an entrepreneur, because it means that you're a person that who can literally grind and polish, day on day, month on month, year on year. You said something that was 9 years, I think.
Yeah, 9 years. Yeah.
9 years, 10 years of literally like just going at it, like that single force of will that no, I am doing what I'm doing,
Yeah.
right? I think it's funny because I'm just looking at my notes here, and I said being here. I think this in itself, like if they even just they remember the fact that you have this in an Indian context to have a silver play button is not, it's not a small thing. It's a huge feat, because for the longest time we've seen our heroes,
Mm.
typically, like a Casey Neistat or whoever, who are people who live abroad, who live a certain lifestyle, etc., etc., etc. That in an Indian context, to be able to do this, to me, I would just, I would put your name here, saying that the being here is what you're doing, which is you stay the course in the present, no matter how difficult it gets.
Yeah, and it
Right?
can,
And that's brilliant. That's a real world explanation of meditation and mindfulness, which is stay in the present. Doesn't matter how difficult things are, you keep going on.
have to practice non-judgment, non-resistance, especially as an entrepreneur, because the world will drag you down. If you're
Absolutely.
the world, if you're not fighting, you have all the space to create the world you want to live in.
Yep.
It's very
So
powerful.
on that happy note, we're going to segue into our mindset hack for success number 2. So
Okay.
take it away, Kartika.
Okay, the second one we've written down is scribing. Okay, scribing is actually writing out, journaling, scripting the life that you want in present tense. This is
Mm-hmm.
something I never ever miss. I have my scribing journal also always on my so can I show it here? I have my
Mm,
I have about 5,000 journals in which I write,
awesome.
and I'm all about creating your life,
Mm,
creating your life. So you write
mm-hmm.
present tense, what you want your life to be like as though you have it. You get into the emotions of it. You get into how that looks like, feel like. You write about it every single day. This makes you believe in the vision a lot more, because once you believe it, you'll achieve it. It's your brain works
Mm,
GPS mode. Once it's real, it's gonna come very quickly. But if you're struggling to believe it, then one good way is to keep scribing, so it becomes natural to you. So at some point you'll,
mm.
I make $1 million, whatever. Because of whatever moment, that's when creation is natural, right? If
Nice.
you believe it, then you'll
Yeah.
keep creating blocks. So
Interesting. So I'm going to just do a quick pop check here to make sure I've got your sequence, because more than anything, and you know this as a fellow programmer, when you actually study people and you watch how they do things and what they do, like you said, you write in the present tense, you get into the emotion, you believe it, and then you achieve it. Literally, when you go whatever, meaning whether it's $1 million, whether it's a car that you really want, whether it's let's say a house that you want to
yeah.
live in, by the lakeside, whatever it is, that you genuinely, there you go. Like for those of you who are listening, she's showing me like a whole bunch of books which are all
So
handwritten.
I just want you to see here. Okay, this is
Uh-huh.
scribing journals, and it's you can't
Ooh.
see it, but it says 100,000 YouTube subscribers.
Nice.
And this is at a time I had 10,000, so it's not, and I
Wow.
last
Right.
year. So I went 10,000 to 100,000 in 8 months, and it's from
Right.
writing these things. You
Yeah.
don't,
It's an interesting point here, because funnily enough, just before we got on the call, I think I was updating my Insta Mojo page, which is
Mm,
basically, for those of you who are listening, who don't already know this, this is your cash machine. This is the page that receives payment.
mm,
It's another payment gateway. And so I realized that I did have the right YouTube link. I clicked on it and I saw my subscribers, I think, are 7 or 10 or something at this point in time. But interestingly, now I also remember the connection. When I was watching and literally mirroring your website the way you've designed it, I knew at that point you had many subscribers. And I was thinking, yeah, at some point when I have subscribers, I'm going to interview you.
mm,
Here we are.
mhm.
But I have a YouTube channel. I have subscribers. So the funny thing is, you never know where and how things can kind of align, right? because the interesting thing, as I'm seeing it, our intentions are already aligned.
Yeah.
So after a point, it's not about, oh, I must have this, which will give me that. That's, I think, what
Yeah.
a lot of entrepreneurs, and I'm seeing this over and over again. I mean, hats off to Suren, because here's another thing, right? A lot of times, people think, okay, I've done this course. Let me go and earn the money for the money that I've spent, and then
Yeah.
I'll do the next course,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right? Versus, I mean, again, there's a different strategies. Like for me, I just kept going. I kept doing all the courses,
Yeah.
which is why I'm here today, having this conversation with you,
Yeah. Yeah.
because there's a certain perspective that I have gained
Yeah.
by just going,
Yeah.
right? So for me, this is a perfect example. I mean, scribing really works. Siddharth talks a lot about it. I've now started doing it.
It
In fact,
works for
my
me.
book is
Good.
by my bedside.
Yeah. Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Doing it right before sleeping is fantastic.
Yep.
And
Right
we
before sleeping,
do
I
it
do
in
it
each
just
session,
after I wake up. For me, it's
Yeah.
sort of like that, winding my day up to like the trajectory.
Yes.
And again, I think what you said is absolutely correct. We all have a different form that works best for us, but the key is to keep doing it till you find that like the perfect way. For when I say perfect, as in the way that really connects with you.
Connects that emotion. Just writing
Yeah.
it is not going to make any difference. It's just like
And
visualizing makes no difference. It's the emotion that creates.
and,
That's
and on that note, I'm going to link it to the next top 10 mindset hack for success. It's
sorry if I'm
beautiful how
talking
it's just
too much.
not at all, not at all, not at all. I'm just, it's amazing how I'm actually seeing this conversation seamlessly like flowing, because the next point is up, and you're gonna, or you can probably already see the connection.
Yes, right. So scribing is connected to affirming, right? Affirmations. Affirmations can be written, read, mentally chanted, but what they are is basically declarations that you're
Mm,
declaring to be true to the cosmos. You're putting it out there so it can mirror itself back to you in your life.
nice.
Affirmations can be used again in present tense. You can read it out, you can say it in your mind, you can write it. It's kind of like scribing, but you're repeating it a couple of times, getting into the
Correct.
feeling, into the flow of it. So
Mm,
affirmations all in present tense. A good way of doing affirmations is to never mention the past, only create like as you were just born in the present moment. Okay?
nice.
So always like, okay, if I was just, this is my first day on planet Earth, I've never experienced anything. Now
Mm,
create, what would I like to create? So I
got it.
say something like, I'm so happy and grateful now that I am
Mm,
in this six-figure business that I really enjoy.
mm,
You see, it's a new energy, nothing to do with your
mm,
failures or anything. Most people get affirmations wrong, which is why we have a community of courses that we get people to switch over to the right way of doing stuff.
mm,
And if you get this wrong, you're kind of wasting your time, because I know people for years have done affirmations and got nothing from it. The easiest way I can tell you
mm,
it's wrong is because affirmations have an instant effect on your body and your life. Instant, because your cells are responding to the chemicals produced in your body all the time. The molecules in your body are responding to your thoughts all the time. Okay, because vibration affects matter. All of it being is responding. So if you're doing affirmations for so many years and nothing's happening, you're doing it wrong, because you're just not doing it according to what works, which is getting into the alignment with the abundance of what you want, not with the lack.
mm,
So most people
mm,
are affirming what they want, but energetically they're still in this negative.
mm.
I'm so happy and grateful I have this amazing business, but in your heart you have all this pain that it's not amazing. So you're not
Correct.
getting the right affirmations of how to do it correctly.
Mm,
If you get it right, this is absolutely revolutionary. I mean, this is something in times, but you never realize the power of it. Is even though everyone's talking about it, if you just
correct.
this one habit, you're good to go. That's how powerful it is.
So you actually talked about a very important point, which is there is a way to do it. There is a
Yeah,
how to do it, the how of it, right?
yeah.
And from what you mentioned a moment ago, you do teach this, correct?
Mhm.
Yeah. So what I would be doing at the end of the show, whether when you get because I will be doing a little bit of tweaking just to make sure that we've got the whole piece in place, because we're going to be uploading this both onto our podcast show as well as on Facebook. So look out for Kartika's course, and definitely jump in, because again, you're always, and this is something I myself have noticed, you're always looking for living masters, which means you're looking for people who are using these principles and actually getting results from it, not just teaching you.
Yeah.
Right? So like what you said is very important. I've only heard it once or twice before, which is that they actually have an instant effect in your body. Yeah. So obviously you have figured out the how of it. You have your process to do it, and which is why I'm also urging um, my viewers, when you also share this in your groups, that whoever's listening, when you're watching this, definitely jump right in. And again, at the end of the day, test it out, because that is really when you know that your teacher is here or not.
Yeah.
Right?
Today I had this email come to me from this guy in philosophy, and he's like, how can you be teaching this false law of attraction? Are you trying to profit from hope? And I'm onto it because my team does my emails. But if you have video testimonial like vaults of uses to completely revolution basic things. So everyone talks about Napoleon. Anyone you hear, they talk about it. But if you apply it, the key is in consistency. Don't just do
Correct.
2 days and expect something, because
Correct.
it's. But the very first time you do it, it changes you chemically,
Yep.
energetically.
Yeah.
But if you don't stay consistent, the negativity of
Yeah.
the world will bring you back
Yeah.
into
Yeah. In fact, I can attest to that, because it's been, I think, since July of 14 or 15, I've pretty much done this every day.
Yeah.
I don't think till now, and of late, it's been, I think, the last month and a half, 2 months probably, it's been like twice a day.
Right.
So I completely agree with what you're saying. I can feel what you're saying, which is that if you do it consistently and you really do it with the intention of feeling, there is this whole rewiring that happens,
Yes, absolutely.
and your body will feel it, right?
If I tell you right now, Rahul, you'll make $1 million, you will be like, yeah, so what? Of course, I'll make $1 million. It's that belief because of consistency. If you work,
Correct.
and I'm just giving an example, $1 million
Yeah.
everyone's thing, but
Correct.
it is. But if I tell you, if you were not consistent and you were listening to your Uncle G and or everyone who's whatever, and then I tell you you'll make $1 million, you'll be like,
Correct.
no, it's not possible for me. What is
Yeah.
possible? I think it was Siddharth who wrote this post about making, getting his Mercedes Benz. He described that and made it so normal for him that when he got it, it wouldn't felt like this out of the world thing. It's just through affirming something to be real, it becomes real. See it instead of I'll see it when I believe it, So
Interesting again, how words just have a way of kind of like lining up, because we're on to the next hack. See, you can see the connection, right? It's freaky. I mean, it is, and yet it isn't, because this is literally alignment.
Yes, this is alignment. Yes.
Yeah. So with that little opener, for those of you right now listening and watching, what is that? Seeing is believing. So over to you, Kartika. What's the next hack?
Believing first, and then you will see. So let's look at how do we believe. And one of the tricks after scribing and affirming is visualization. It is the owner of CNN. I keep forgetting his name, but he says, "When without practice within." So when you don't see results outside, that's when it's your opportunity to open a bottle of champagne. I'm not promoting, just kind of giving a idea here. Just open, celebrate, close your eyes, get into the state of having something now. See it as real, feel it as real, get into the feeling. You don't know how powerful this is. Everyone knows it, but they don't consistently practice it. Because if I ask your listeners, did you visualize today? 90% will say no. And then they will also say, I'm not getting results. Because alignment is important. No amount of hard work can make up for alignment. See?
Yeah.
So visualizing is imagination but
Mm.
it is in the present moment. Never push it into one day I will have that.
Mm.
It's I have it now. I'm sitting in the car. I'm enjoying the breeze. I'm feeling this feeling. The feeling is what creates,
Mm.
not the vision. We are constantly daydreaming, but not all of our daydreams come true. It's when you get into the emotions, you hold on to the emotions, you keep it in a high.
Mm.
That is what creates. So, and so if you're doing it for 2 minutes in the morning, but the rest of the day you're living in judgment, complaining, condemning, criticizing, not being mindful, you're still manifesting all the negative stuff that you're
Correct.
of throughout the day. So
Mm.
visualization and say it's not working, or scribing an affirmation if you're not doing the first point, which is living mindful,
Correct.
right? Because you're
Mm.
always creating, whether you speak, affirm positive things or you affirm, you're
Mm.
still creating constantly.
Absolutely. In fact, this is something that, again, because of my journey, especially, quite deep into neuro linguistic programming, and when I had studied with the masters, this is one part, and because you practice it, I want to, get a sense of how does it work for you, because there is the whole associated and then the dissociated way.
Mm-hmm.
Correct? Which means, for those of you who are not familiar with the terms, one is where you see yourself living in a mansion, and the other is where you are living in the mansion,
Yeah.
right? So there are these two states basically. So
Also,
from what you see and what you teach people, which gives them results as well as it gives you results. What is your take on the whole I see myself succeeding and I am succeeding? Because that, in essence, is the two states.
yes. It all depends on how you feel.
Mm,
Well,
interesting.
seeing themselves from a disassociative state still brings up a stronger emotional effect than being in that moment. Because sometimes when they get into the moment, their lack of worthiness and stuff comes up and blocks
Nice.
the feeling.
Nice.
Some people. So I have this $5 visualization. Okay, it's out there. Whole thing is
mm,
dissociated. They sit on a cloud, they
got
walk
it.
the entire thing, and they see themselves in the earth experiencing all these things as the cloud, and they're just, wow, look at that, I got this, and wow. And then they go to
Mm,
the end, we get into the associated where we're sitting in the, in the living room with friends and family and explaining all the amazing things that happen. So we mix the two. Big
mm,
people, it works that way. For some people, it's different.
nice.
It
I
totally,
think that's absolutely, and what I love about, even the way you approach this is, it is about whatever works,
yeah,
right? Because at the end of the, I mean, if you really, I mean, this is how I like to look at it. At the end of the day, all of this is man-made in quotes, right?
yeah,
As in, somebody somewhere came up with this as a concept, and some of it has stuck, some of it sort of goes around and then comes back. But you're absolutely right. Whatever works for you. So if you want to get technical, sure, there are two ways, right? The associated and the dissociated. Google it, read up about it, watch videos on it, sure. But what you're saying is absolutely right, which is whichever works for you, which means, is it raising your state in a
yes.
positive way? Is it spinning it into a positive vortex, if you may, versus if it's going to make you unhappy, scared, worried about the future, then that's not the one for you yet. There will come a time where you will be able to do both, and they both raise your state. Would that be a fair assessment?
Yeah, like I had, yeah, so I had a one-on-one client, and and this is something that's very common with people, is they can visualize, but they can't feel the emotions. So one
Correct.
thing I asked him to do, and I'm going to give this out for free, even though I charge,
Mm.
a very important point, involve someone else into the visualization who you.
Ooh.
So he was like in the car, but he's not feeling.
Mm.
So I said, see your happy mom enjoying the car. Bam, his heart opened up, and he tweak it, for bringing other people into it, see happy kids or whatever. When you see the vision beyond yourself, you can somehow
Nice.
a joy that's greater than just me.
Amazing.
So all of these
Yeah.
things, tweakings that you make on something just to make it more powerful. Even
Right.
using certain words like
Mm.
incredible life, amazing, joyful, brings
Mm.
emotions and energy
Mm.
to make it work. If it works for you, stay. If it doesn't, tweak it.
Correct. So basically, it's like at the end of the day, like what you're rightly saying is, you put your body into it. You really need to feel your body
Yes.
respond. Because
Yes.
as you rightly said in the beginning, none of this has come to pass yet, which is why you're practicing it within till this becomes normal, and then you're saying your mind's already ready for what's coming ahead, which is if it's a if it's 1 million, what's it like at a 10 million, right?
Exactly.
Or 100 million? Because
Feel
at the
like
end of the day,
feel
hmm
like feel it like it's normal. Like I sat here
feel it like it's normal.
my silver but I've never gotten a button before. Okay. And my YouTube journey was hellish. Okay. But still I started
Right,
visualizing just a month and a half. When we were at MTS, I hit 100,000.
right,
Right before MTS, I was at 64 or something like that. Somewhere
right,
in that, I got one or two video ideas. Just came
right.
cosmos, right? Because when you in alignment, you get the answers. Remember, there's
Correct.
no such thing as problem.
Mm-hmm.
It came to me two video ideas. I put it up. I engaged the audience, and that two videos went caused me to go from 64,000 to 125,000.
Wow.
Two videos. And when I came back from NT, and I was telling this to Surena, he was also like, it's the same principle. I saw it before I experienced, even though I had no freaking idea how I would get there, because my
Right.
were doing like 100 subscribers in a week or something basic, like nothing
Mm,
moving,
mm,
until I went into the alignment work. But
correct.
I do alignment work with things with income and stuff and it works. So I was like, finally, let's
Mm,
a little bit more seriously and let's try this out.
mm,
Worked, and I sat here, and when I came back from taking that 100 the award, and I sat here looking at where do I put this up, it hit me
mm.
sitting right here visualizing this very thing, and then here I am holding it. And if anyone,
Wow.
you email me today, if you still question the law of attraction, even constantly seeing its evidence, I don't know what to say.
Right.
It was like
True.
Nietzsche and nihilism and life, and I
Correct.
can't
Sure.
give you a
Sure.
philosophy answer. All I can tell you is
Sure.
it results speak louder than philosophies. And if you
Mm,
don't question it, just do it.
awesome. Awesome.
Okay, let's go to
So,
the
so for those of you who've stuck around here, we're just getting warmed up. I want to thank you again for tuning in, for listening, probably even taking notes, having little ahas, because that is why we're here. That is why we today no longer work in little, little pods all over the place. The more we literally connect, the more we share. It's really about energy today. And you know this as a solopreneur, it is everything is about energy. And when you're literally like where your focus goes, or where your attention goes, your energy flows. So the reason why we're creating, I mean, I'm getting goosebumps even as I'm telling you this, and you
yeah,
probably are as well, because that is the power today of being able to share, being able to collaborate, being able to let our ideas out into the world, right? I know this from my own personal experience. 15 years I had very different ideas about how it was about, spreading the word. Today, when you look around you, you'll see, when you tune into this abundance, this openness, that is when possibilities happen. So
yeah.
on that word, which I had no idea was coming to me a moment ago, we're going to jump right into the next top 10 mindset hack, which is, I won't tell you the number yet, but we're just going to dive right in. So, Kartika, over to you.
Okay, the next one is, as I've put it, it's called bridging potentials. So the
Hmm.
potential of you being successful and you wherever you're at now, even if you are successful, the next level of success, right? To bridge
Hmm.
that, you need to do certain exercises that help you. And some of them I've written down here is one of them is action plans, right? So you may not
Hmm.
something is going to unfold, but you may have like a some kind of idea what I can do today towards it or what I can do tomorrow. Creating a clear action plan and then executing it in the present moment, remember, okay?
Hmm.
Moment.
Hmm.
Doing the work, action bridges the potential. Okay, yeah,
Hmm.
work is fantastic. In fact, that's 90%, but action is very, very important also, right? So,
Hmm.
so we do all of this in our courses also, but
Hmm.
to be able to plot out where I am right now, where I want to go, and then bridge in action and say, okay, this is what I can do. If I want to publish the book, I can start by making some, rough notes, then breaking it into chapters, then writing it.
Hmm.
So these are bullet points of actions I can take. So you're bridging the
Right.
between you now and you as the author, right? Action is one of them. This
Hmm.
I've written down here is building belief in
Hmm.
it being possible for you and you being worthy of it, right?
Hmm.
belief and deservability are one of the biggest blocks for people.
Mm.
They see us talking about success,
Mm.
believe they can actually do it or they're worthy of
Mm.
success. A lot of people feel like they block their success because they don't feel they're good enough to
Yep.
have it,
Yep.
right? So all of that you need to build that by doing exercises, even mindfulness,
Mm.
by releasing all that trauma that you hold.
Mm.
For parts of mindfulness I have not discussed,
Sure.
but all of
Mhm.
that is
Mhm.
important. Healing your traumas, rethinking your deservability. Why do I deserve good things in my life? Why do I deserve success? One good point about making a lot of money is asking yourself, how do I serve others with this money? When
Mm.
you serve that, your deservability goes up when it comes to money, right? Why do I believe it's possible for me? Because I'm in an industry where other people have done it, so it's just a matter of
Mm.
doing it. These are just certain believe thoughts I'm putting out there, but you can create a
Sure.
number of reasons why you believe it's possible. You believe you deserve it. You create an action plan. Stuff like that bridges.
Correct.
Remember, if you believe it, you achieve it. If you
Mm.
deserve it, it's just a matter of time.
Mm. Mm.
So it's
It's
all just
it's
the potential.
it's interesting that you say. I mean, I've as I said, I've been taking notes, and one of the first things that kind of popped into my mind is whether you call it an affirmation, whether you just call it a mantra, even just saying I am worthy. And I've seen this, especially when I'm working with some of my my clients, especially who are women. Saying the words itself is like a way to unlock things that have been held tight for like the longest time. Just saying that I am worthy in itself is able to sort of create a certain degree of release, right?
Yeah.
And then like you rightly said, to create a clear action plan, even if it is three things that they're going to do, even if it's three things that you're going to do them, right? And of course there is inner work as well that requires to be done on a constant and consistent basis, which is releasing the past blocks. Now obviously there are many forms out there, and as I've mentioned before, Kartika has programs that that focus on these areas, because at the end of the day, this is something that I have found. It's important that you look at a system which kind of has everything in it, and it's able to kind of get you from where you are literally to what you maybe were too afraid to ask for. But the fact that you're here means you're ready to ask for it,
Yes.
because that's why it's like nothing happens by chance,
Yeah.
right? And as you rightly said, this is again beautiful, right? Another way for you to say, okay, it's out there. How do I make it happen here? Which is your deservability. And how do you do that in real life? You actually serve other people. For me, this is a big game changer. I mean, now almost a year ago, when I heard T. Harv Eker, who's literally, you know, the biggest mentor for me, especially from 2019, where he says, it's like play big and serve many. For me, that serve many just kind of blew my mind,
Yeah.
right? Uh, because as solopreneurs, sometimes there is this danger of wanting only to have 10 people in a workshop, 20 people in a workshop. I've been there for many, many years. But that
That's
is
also
literally
quite a privilege. That's also quite a
that
privilege. 10 people in your workshop is still really good than having one guy show up, you know?
absolutely. But I'm sort of alluding to something bigger, which is when it's done out of fear,
Yeah.
which is that I can't handle more people, versus tuning into your true self. If your true self is meant to serve many, which is why we are blessed and we get to be here. And like I was listening to the call yesterday, when Siddharth's guest Karthik was talking about it, that there's
Mm.
a reason why we are not in a war torn country, but we're here,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
when you're blessed and you're here to serve other people, and what better country than India, where we never run out of people to serve. There are a
Yeah.
lot of people to serve. So
Exactly.
serve,
Yeah.
right? Now, whether your destiny, whether your fortune, timing, whatever you want to call it, has you serving 10, 100, or 100,000, or 100 million is secondary. But in
Mm.
your mind saying, yes, I want to serve other people and I want to serve many, is in itself opening yourself up to to possibilities,
Yeah.
right?
I just want to read out something here, if it's okay.
Mm.
Uh, Because in my scribing journal, reasons why I'm
Uh-huh.
worthy, I've written
Uh-huh.
here that, see, I'm worthy because the universe decided it. It wouldn't have given me the seed of wanting to serve in the first place if it did not feel I was worthy of serving. So
Precisely.
that's another reason that you would put down for building desirability. But
Yep.
the fact that you're here, like Rajiv says, wanting to serve people is part of your soul anyway. So
Correct.
the brand around, service is part of you. You wouldn't be doing
Yep.
it if you didn't have that. And the very fact
Correct.
that you've been given this and not your neighbor down the road
Correct.
is because
Mm-hmm.
that is why you're worthy, because you were given the seed. If
Correct.
you're not worthy, you wouldn't be given the seed to be able to help all these people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. So, just to sort of recap, this is basically we're talking about bridging potentials, which means we all have that potential, and there are these gaps between the potentials, if I can use that word. Right. Now, how do you bridge them? Just to quickly repeat, to recap, one is you're starting to believe and you're starting to say even that I am worthy. Two is create a clear action plan. So you're not leaving things in your mind to kind of spin you out of control. Three is definitely release past blocks and keep doing that, because it's like, in Vipassana, what they talk about the sankharas, right? You will always be able to unearth even deeper hurt or aversions, craving, whatever, whatever words you want to use for it. But in essence, keep releasing them. It never ends, which is
Yeah,
a
that's
good
why it's a
thing.
way of life. That's why mindfulness is a constant observation of all of these.
Absolutely.
We call it the
Right.
pain.
and
Yeah.
and to sort of corral it back, so people, so if you're thinking, but I have children to take care of, and I have a husband or a wife, or parents, whoever, another quick reminder is, even if you just say I'm going to serve more people, that itself is the start of literally creating a mindset, and this is a hack at the end of the day for success. So we're going to, sort of segue into the next mindset hack for success.
Hmm. Okay, so the next one is time management. Okay, so I have parents to take care of. I have kids. I don't have time. Biggest lie in this entire universe is I don't have time. Every
Mm-hmm.
successful person has the exact same time as us. Time is
Mm-hmm.
problem is what are you doing with the time that you have?
Mm-hmm.
Which
Mm-hmm.
brings us back to the whole mindfulness thing, right? Being focused
Correct.
on something. You
Yep.
can get 20 minutes to do a project, but in that 20 minutes, if your mind is in everything else, which it is, right? Because you're thinking of why did I get the project? How do I finish it? I don't have enough time. You just lost 10 seconds or 1 minute, right?
Correct.
So
Correct.
time management is important in the sense that you have time. There is more than much time that you can do everything and beyond and still be lazy. That much
Mm.
time. But when you have a belief that I don't have time, that's a belief
Mm.
based on truth.
Mm.
Your reality will keep showing you that you don't have enough time. So you think it's real. You think it's, yeah, I really don't have time, Katka. It's not a belief. It is a belief.
Mm.
You keep saying, I have more than enough time. You wait and see how your entire universe rearranges itself. You
Mm.
hours that seem like the most compact, tight 24 hours will become the most open and you shift your belief system about it.
Mm-hmm.
Management, being present with the time that you have, managing that properly.
Mm.
I wrote here waking up early for entrepreneurs. I'm not trying to, I have a 5 a.m. club of our group of people
Sure.
where we do all of this visualization, affirmation,
Mm.
typing
Mm.
all that together to make sure all of us finish it every day. But
Mm. Mm-hmm.
don't have to wake up at 5 or something like that to be successful. There are enough people who wake up at 10 and are successful. But
Correct.
whatever they did on in that day, they managed
Mm.
so well. They stayed so present and focused with it that they get
Mm.
done in a day than most people
Mm.
get done in a week. That is,
Mm.
and for success as an entrepreneur, you've got to sort that out. Waking up early just gives you additional time to sort that out. Okay.
So basically, get done in a day what others do in a week.
Yeah, and if you're really
Interesting.
passionate about what you do, then it becomes fun work. It's not there is
Mm.
hard work. I mean, it is
Sure.
hard work, but it's
Sure.
so much passion. It doesn't feel like
Mm.
it feels like
It's
service.
just to put this into context, like even what we're doing here is a lot of fun, right? It is literally, you know, play basically, but there's a lot that goes behind this for this to happen. from thoughts to, focus, intention, attitude, belief, desire, a whole bunch of things that go into it. But as you said, when it's practiced on a daily basis, then this seems natural and simple,
And fun.
right?
Yes.
And fun.
It's joyful work, which is also, it's not always, like I said, my YouTube journey was hellish, mostly because,
mm,
I mean, it was passionate work. I enjoyed every
sure.
of it, but then you have to deal with the hate commenters.
Correct.
Deal with all of that. That is what I meant, So it's all, but
Mm,
stop you if it's your passion. You'll still get back on the horse and jump.
mm.
So yeah.
Interesting. You've already kind of got your segue, or it
Yeah.
segued itself, because you said this, and this is something very, very important, right? It's like, you talked about YouTube, say the words again. You said it is hellish, right? Hellish, right? So,
Hellish, because of
um,
comments.
yeah, because as you said, it's like literally you have haters, which is a reality. But there's something that we're segueing into the next mindset hack for success, which is
Learn from everyone and everything. A fantastic point. Coincidentally, yesterday we got an email from a guy like, "Oh, your videos turn me on. Let's talk about sex and this." And I found that we practice mindfulness, so found that quite funny. We were like,
yeah.
So I didn't respond to him, but then I sent this message to we have a WhatsApp group of students and all that because community is important. We're practicing stuff like this. So I was telling them, I said, wow, this guy's just inspired me to make sure that 2020, my brand is so strong in terms of expertise and professionalism that it won't even cross his mind to send an email to a coach and say, hey, let's talk about sex. So I was fantastic. This guy's given me a new dimension to work on. And everyone else was like, oh, poor soul. And I said, no, this guy's like amazing. He's taught me so much that I can do with my business, right? To rechange the energy I'm bringing into. Because obviously something about what I was doing out for him to think it was okay. So what can I shift about my business that allows people to see the mentor not as, a sex object, for example. So that was, wow, okay, I learned this from this guy. You will always learn something from everyone. Like you and me, Rahul, we were discussing at the beach, we're talking about abundance mindset. And I was like, wow, I'm learning so much from you, even though we just met at that time, right? That was the first time
at the MTS, yeah.
Constantly, Aparna was also there. We're just learning from everyone. And you just be humbled constantly by what you don't know. So learning from every fall is your greatest guru. If you take it, if you then again you'll be stuck, which is again going back to judgment, complaining, condemning, criticizing.
That's interesting. You said every fall is your creative guru, as in your creative teacher, right?
Every fall is your greatest guru because you're learning.
Greatest. So I'm just going to flip this around. You said greatest. I love to what's the word for it? To tweak these things. So as you said, I heard you said greatest. I heard creative. So it's like literally every fall is your creative teacher, meaning literally allowing you to improvise. As I just sort of improvised what I thought I heard, which was like, wow, it sounded so profound, right? Every fall is your creative teacher, your creative guru. So it's like, in the words of our mentor, Bring It On, in the words of, the enlightened warrior, it's like, bring it on. And it's true, because then, and this is so important, especially as a solopreneur, that if you're willing to fall, if you're willing and okay with falling, even as you're falling, you can flip around so that you can bounce back faster.
Really, you cannot be successful if you don't fall on your face.
Yeah.
Literally, because you learn nothing. How do you become the best if you learned nothing? How does that work? If you like the whole, straight roads don't make skilled drivers. People message me all the time saying, "Oh, I'm scared about making a career move." I said, "You think we got here by what happened? Money just came, the clients." I don't know. I mean, I started in 2011. Okay, it's been a while of falling. So
sure.
it's important to fall. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to say anything if I not learn from my own
Yeah.
mistakes.
To put this into context, for those of you who probably know this and those of you who don't, it took me 15 years of, when I say trying, literally testing different things and finding all the things that did not work in the way that I was looking for my trajectory. That is what also gives me that, like literally what we call in our world, what we call earn the right, to be here to tell you that keep grinding, keep polishing, right? I mean, out there we talk about the keep grinding. My reframe is keep grinding, keep polishing, because you need both. You're not only meant to struggle. There's also that moments of beauty, and to me the polishing is where the beauty comes in, right? Because a lot of times people end up getting very, very rough by the end of the whole grinding process, as that analogy goes. For me, grinding and polishing, I think, are important, and that's what also makes the journey beautiful, right? You don't have to be battered and bruised all the time, right? In fact, I'm sort of going to use that as a way to jump into, because I know this works. I know this works for you. It certainly has worked for me. If I use even 2019 as my sort of reference point, which is we're almost at the end of our, mindset hacks for success for today, which is,
Next, okay, it is surrounding yourself with successful people. This
yeah,
be said enough and enough. The importance of this cannot be amplified more than this. If you hang out, really, the whole thing of you become the average of the people you
mm,
cannot be more true. Um,
mm,
when I did my train the trainer was a long time back, like
mm-hmm.
4 years ago or something like that.
Wow,
And then after that, I came to MTS after 4 years, right?
wow,
Between that, I attended zero success seminar.
right, mm,
I know how that. I mean, because I'm very driven. I'm gonna all.
correct,
I have all. I'm surrounding myself with books and videos of mentors and keeping myself in that energy of success constantly. I'm always there.
correct,
But I also know the power of going to events and meeting other people and
mm,
being in that physical. Suren took me in his Jaguar, okay, and
mm,
riding to his office because we were discussing some business stuff.
mm,
For me, that was surrounding myself with the kind of people I want to
yeah,
be, right? I
absolutely,
want to see, for me, SynchroShakti is not just around me. It is, I want it to
correct,
be a platform for other people,
correct,
other trainers to keep
correct,
teaching more people. I want to create that
correct,
environment. So
correct,
surrounding yourself with people who have or are moving in the direction of having what you want keeps
yep,
you on top of your game, and it keeps you in the
correct,
visual reality of attracting it. If you're sitting with your auntie who's yelling at something on the news and she's telling you not
mm,
to do something, it affects your vibration and affects
mm,
what you think you can do.
mm,
General world has never gone beyond their doorstep. They cannot
mm,
tell you how far you can go. They will tell you can't go far because
correct,
you know the journey ahead. When you have
mm,
the guys who've gone that far, first
mm,
you attract that. Okay,
mm,
it becomes
correct,
a new normal. Whatever
correct,
becomes a new normal, whether you're complaining or you're in creation mode, you will attract that new normal. Is easier when you're hanging around people who are successful. It's
correct.
like a success pill, basically, that you can.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And in fact, I mean, we've all heard about this. We've all read about people, like we talk about Napoleon Hill, we talk about Earl Nightingale. The principle is not new, in that people, I think, from time immemorial have, always gone to distant lands. Like, who was it? Ibn Battuta. I mean, there are enough and more people, enough and more scribes who have gone literally across the world at a point where there were no cell phones, no nothing, probably just on a donkey or whatever they could lay their hands on. But the drive was to find people who were really good at what they did, and to scribe them, to write how they did and how they were who they were. In our sort of our, let's say a more recent context, obviously have people like Tony Robbins. There are enough and more people, even in the recent times. I think even what Bouchard is he? Brendan Bouchard. There are enough and more people who have followed a similar principle. Rajiv, for that matter, right?
Yeah.
Where you study people, and by studying them, you start to surround yourself with people who are far better than you, not because they are better than you, but because they have found ways to unblock themselves. So
Yeah.
when you surround yourself with that and in that environment and you're breathing that in, automatically two things will happen, right? One is people who are not aligned to that thinking will start to drift away, which is great, right? Because this is something I've been now talking about a lot in this month of Jan at the time of this recording, in that it's okay for you to, I wouldn't say lose friends, you will just drift into a different um energy circuit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for the moment, it's perfectly fine because as long as you're not dismissing people, you know that there will come a time where if they're meant to be literally, again breathing the same air, so be it. But
Yeah.
more importantly, as we're talking about, surrounding yourself with successful people, be open to that and see them as your equal. Because
Yes.
this is something I have found. When people sort of only see people who are successful with awe, it
Yeah. Then
kind of misses
not
the
bridging,
whole point.
you're not bridging the potential because you're not building belief.
Absolutely.
Absolutely agree. Yeah.
Yeah. I am next to so and so. No,
No.
that's for a moment, it's fine to have the fan moment, but
Yeah.
step away from that because there's a purpose of why the universe, if you believe in the universe, God, whatever is your belief structure, but there's a reason why you are breathing the same air, right? Breathe it in with the intention that you're doing this to serve other people. You're doing this to also cleanse your own. Um, it's a faster cleansing process. This is something I found. Like you breathe their energy in, it
Yeah.
cleanses much faster
Yeah.
on the inside.
Yeah. And it makes you, again, bridging belief, right?
Yep.
Potentiality.
Yep.
If I'm in the vibrational presence of a successful person, that means I attracted. That means I have success in
Yeah.
me. Guess
That
what?
means you also move past that old version of you.
Yeah. I
Sometimes people miss that.
I
Say again?
started when I saw Nick Halleck, Success Gyana brought Nick Halleck back in 2013.
Mm,
That
mm,
is when I decided to be a trainer. I was doing YouTube,
wow.
but that was just me sharing some,
Got
stuff.
it.
But I decided to join the personal development industry when I saw him. That was that moment. I've never stopped since then. It's just been back to back. I mean, that's again coming back to purpose. No matter how much life kicks you down, if you have purpose, you will get back up.
Mm,
That was when it awoke for me. That 4 minute mile
yeah.
thing. Bro,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
essentially, what I'm trying to say is that you wouldn't know how far you can go if you
Mm,
hang around people who've gone where no man has gone. So yeah,
correct.
you can surpass them and go where no man has gone, but you
Yeah.
don't hang around with people who, and nothing wrong with that. We practice
Yeah.
mindfulness, no judgment, no nothing. It's just it helps if you want to buy Mercedes, you go to the Mercedes store, sit in one, helps you attract one better,
Absolutely.
the work for it also. Then if you're
Yeah.
sitting in a Maruti store dreaming of a Mercedes,
Correct.
different energy field,
It's a
different.
lot harder also, isn't it? I mean, going to a Mercedes store, or rather going to a Maruti store and then thinking about a Mercedes is crazy,
Resistance, yeah.
right? Versus, like you said, you go there a couple of times to the Mercedes, the high end store, and then it no longer starts to be high end. That's the whole point. That's if I was to summarize it, basically that's what you're saying. In in what you've been saying so far, one of the most important things is it is just a thing.
Yes.
When you say, oh yeah, okay, I want this versus that, that's all that it is, because it's a means to an end, which is to get you from one place to the other.
Exactly.
So
Agree.
having said that, this is something really, really important, right? And you've talked about this, which is, I'm going to sort of say this one, which is basically bridging your skills and attending programs. You were starting to talk about it. Share more about what's been that experience of yours when you started to attend programs. There was a gap,
Yes. Yeah.
right? I think it was 2016 when you did your first your TGT,
Long time back. I don't even know the date. But
right? 15 or 16,
yeah.
and then there was a gap, but then something happened.
Yes. So one is okay. It's all law of attraction all over again. I was thinking of bringing mindfulness to people around India because India is a highly dramatized country. We love drama,
Sure.
family
Yeah.
fighting, that, which is not healthy. Okay, it's part of our.
Mm,
It's not at all. It's a mental
correct.
issue. So I wanted to bring mindfulness on stage, and I was like, you know what? I should contact this guy called Suri, and I don't know why it came to my head. I said, and I wrote it down, and my scribing is
Wow.
in touch with this guy called Suri. The next morning, I had a one-on-one client session with one of my 1-year contracts.
Wow.
I didn't even know for 1 year, I didn't know that she works for Success Gear.
Wow.
I didn't even know that. And then she mentioned, she's like, oh yeah, Suren knows what you're doing. I've been talking about your programs. The same day, I had an interview with Siddharth for his Hall of Fame, some YouTube channels.
Right.
I had an interview with him and he's like, oh, Suren already, like, he knows what you're doing. And I'm like, just a day contact this guy called Suren. You see, it's again me being in that vibration. So then
Correct.
me up and he said, okay, you come for MTS, just come. Don't wait for next,
Right.
come for MTS. I came,
Nice.
which is also where I met you.
Uh-huh.
Came for MTS. I realized one is when you're the smartest person in your group, okay,
Correct.
big room, which means for me, my group is just my students. They have 4,000 students. They just, I mean, I'm the only one who they come to for help. So
Correct.
I can go for my skills to continue to develop.
Exactly.
MTS is where I had to humble down and realize
Mm.
I got to learn stuff. I cannot. That's why he's surrender. Don't be a hotshot.
Correct.
Surrendered the kind of transformation I experienced.
Mm.
I can't explain it to my family or friends what I experienced in MTS.
Correct.
Only I know what I went through, and so did you.
Don't even get me started. I wanted to, like, literally, as they say in quotes, as dramatically, I wanted to die because I mean, I knew I had come there to, like, just let myself not go, but just be and let whatever happen. But I literally felt like I was this walking dead body through those 5 days. It started on day one. It did not end till day five. But and luckily I have, been in this process for some time now. So I said, it's okay. You will die. You will rise again, and then you will only rise stronger. Which is so true, because attending programs is something that we have talked about. It's something that our mentors talk about, which is it's never over till you're ready for the next program. So if you're in one, you're doing a set of programs, keep doing them till you get to that point where you're done as far as that program structure goes. I remember years ago, I was doing a lot of sessions in body work, right? Which is again a very different modality. You like for me, I would know when I would, lie on the bed, and then I'd be gone, and then I'd be back in like 45 minutes. I had no clue what was happening, during the process, because that's how the process works. And I used to do that 3 times a week. And then sort of like shifted, and I used to do it twice a week. And then I remember at one point, and it moved to once a week. And I said, I wonder how it's going to be when this is not there. And then eventually that happened, because I had reached a point where I was ready to move on to something else.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And if 2019 has taught me anything, it is that submit completely. Like literally what I've written in my note here, which is literally surrender yourself to, to your mentor. And this is where obviously you're not going from it's not a Guruji, Babaji kind of an approach. I'm saying do your due diligence, right? And one of those pieces is make sure that your mentor uses what they're telling you to do, right? Like whether it's Raji, whether it's Siddharth, they use the same tools on a daily basis. What I teach my clients, what I take them through, is what I'm using to build my own business. So I know it works, and that also keeps me grounded. But you're absolutely right, which is you need to surrender yourself completely and say, okay, if you tell me that I need to do this, I will do it.
It's also who you're listening to. So someone has been successful. Like for example, if someone tells me, don't, for example, I had family members who said earlier on in my career, don't use the name SynchroShakti. It sounds too, they'll think you're some false Guruji, spiritual teacher.
Correct.
Nobody's going to jump into SynchroShakti.
Right.
So if that was Kiran Majumdar Shaw who told me that, I take their advice.
Correct.
Some uncle who's sitting and watching an IPL match who's never stepped out of his house is giving me that advice, I'm not going to take it.
Correct.
Because I want to hear from people who if they can genuinely see, if they've gone beyond me, they can see something.
Correct.
I see.
Yeah.
I have to be humble enough to see that. If Correct. I mean, that's what Blair told me, because 5 minutes after I went on stage, Blair said to me, to change my entire topic. And I was talking about mindful. He's like, how did you sell mindfulness? I said, mindfulness can be applied to all these things. I have 30% webinar conversions. I was so like, I don't know how you sold it to a single person, change your topic. I said, this is all I know. Mindfulness is my life.
Correct.
And he's like, how did you get to mindfulness? Well, I cured anxiety and depression. He said, that's your topic.
Right.
Anxiety and depression.
Wow.
Oh, I don't want. And he said, see, you can either let your ego take over and say
Correct.
you don't want to, or you surrender to the process. So went on stage without any script, zero script. I got a standing ovation. Of course, we all got a standing ovation, but he was so
Sure.
happy with the whole performance purely
Yep.
because I spoke from my heart and not from
Yep.
my intellect. You can only get that when you allow someone on the outside to see you. If you put the guards up, I'm the greatest, you'll never.
Absolutely.
And money,
Absolutely.
investing in yours. If you want your clients to invest in your courses, but you won't invest in your own learning, mismatch,
Correct.
not aligned.
Absolutely. In fact, to sort of like, as we're starting to bring this home, one thing very, very important to you as you're listening to this, as you're watching this, it's really, really important to invest in not only in education, but you're also investing in educating yourself, which means you're constantly staying also in the state of being a customer. So you know what crap might come up, because that is precisely probably what your customer is also going through when you tell them that this is what it is, or that because you're familiar now with the funnel, that there is a level 1 and then there's a level 2 and then there's a level 3, maybe there's a level 4, whatever it be, because you know you're doing this only because you love them, you're doing this only because you care for them, and there is a process of learning, right? No matter how much you want to give them, beyond a point they cannot take more. So when you know that you're telling them, okay, now invest in the next level, it's only out of that genuine love and integrity, right? And because you practice it yourself, attending programs is literally part of your yearly process to grow. That is what they start to connect with. So on that note, we're going to now start to, as I said, we're going to start to bring this home. All of this is great. All of this is fine. That's probably also what you're thinking. For those of you who stuck around, maybe you forwarded, maybe you haven't, but you're here, you're at this juncture, right? Because the podcast format is designed to be long form. It's designed to be immersive. Whether you've been playing it and you're cooking at home, or you're typing out a document, doesn't really matter. What's important is you stayed on till here, and this is where we bring it home. And this is the one I'm going to again hand the baton back to Kartika, because she's so beautifully like laid this whole thing out from way before we even had this conversation. It was probably there somewhere in the universe. It came in, boom, we exactly channeled it. And this is where it all comes home. So for those of you who are, maybe watching this on YouTube, write in the comments, let's get this done now. And here's Kartika going to bring this home for you. Take it away, Kartika.
Last point from our 10 mindset hacks is get the hard shit done first.
Nice.
This one is a one on discipline, okay? Because major resistance to continuing to work on your business or your skill is the hard one, which is the YouTube funnel. So I got to study this. If you push it to the end, that resistance that it will make will keep dragging on, and eventually it will suck the life force out of you. And then I will meet you at one of Siddharth's events, and then you will tell me the same thing I've been, but not really consistent with, because you're not getting the, how Siddharth always says in the interviews, how I took a whole day to study ClickFunnels before I started. I'm not boasting about myself. I didn't have any other option at that time.
Correct.
To get something out immediately. I'd already marketed it. For me, and I didn't know what technical stuff and all. I was just like in a I was just switch on all the lights, going, does this work? Does this? I had no idea about coding, nothing. I had to study it.
Right.
It was so hard. If I did not do that, I would have never gotten. That first product I put out after 9 years on YouTube did $10,000 in sales in like 2 days. $10,000.
Wow.
Maybe I saw $1,000, but maybe not more.
Yeah.
The only reason was, and I created the entire those days ClickFunnels membership page. Didn't understand anything, how to create pages, how to put a digital download. I didn't know any of it.
Wow.
Figured it out, and I studied, and it was hard, but I got it. And
Nice.
people continue to buy that course. So the one hard thing I got done first paved the way for an easy life because I got the hard. If I hadn't done that, then I would have still been waiting for me to create the courses because you got to kick yourself in the butt and finish that.
Absolutely.
I start my day with
Absolutely.
hardest stuff in the beginning. Then it pays
Nice. That's a good one. So you're saying, and this works for you. You start your day with the
hardest.
hardest stuff.
And this is after I do all my morning routine and all that. So I do
Very
have,
important. I love the way you've kind of prefaced that, right? So basically, you do your processes first,
then start
and this
work.
is something that I have found. You probably do it as well, which is even before checking YouTube or Instagram or any of that stuff, you do your processes first.
Yes.
Right? Some people, they roll over and the first thing they do is see their phone, you know,
I used to
things.
I used to do that all the time, but all
Yep,
it's you getting that dopamine hit, but also
exactly,
moment the rest of your day is gone if you're not living by
exactly.
all these things
Yeah,
can affect you. So flipping the
and
in the beginning is important.
and this is so true because you're actually talking about mindfulness, right? And just
Yes.
to give you an example, and this is what I love, why I love Blair for who he is and what he is. And you talk about as ising while you were doing this, and I just kind of glanced at my clock, and because I have a 7 o'clock where I meet my tribe every Wednesday, which is going to shift incidentally, and I'm just sharing this here ahead of time because I was listening to the call yesterday. Wednesday is the day of the gurus, as in the teacher, to rest. So
Mm.
my Wednesdays will move to Saturdays. But the point I'm making is that it's again about being mindful. So I was aware because we live in parallel tabs. I just quickly jumped there for a second and I just, hey, we're starting at 7 or 10. So it takes a lot of the crap out of the equation,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
right? And giving yourself the permission. I mean, I'm going to bounce around here just to sort of bring this all together. Literally saying I'm worthy because I'm not waiting for somebody else to tell me I'm right or wrong, good or bad. 7 o'clock is 7:10. What are they going to think? None of that,
yeah,
right? Because it's again being done for them. Like what we're doing here is for them. It's not just for the people in the community, but the community at large, right? So I'm just going to quickly run through what we've talked about. Remember, we talked about meditation. It is literally about mindfulness, right? Non-judgment, acceptance, being here. Scribing, which is a really, really powerful way of bringing yourself into the present every day while you actually are in the future. That's the interesting thing, if you think
yeah.
about it, right? You're present because you're writing. You're not typing on your devices. You're actually writing. I have one of my favorites, care of Amazon. There's like you get really good writing material and the pens. The pens are crap because they crap out in like 3 days, but they write really well. It's one of those artistic pens, right?
I
So
also
if
I have all the colorful pens,
yeah,
fluorescent. Yeah, just be creative, enjoy the
yeah, yeah,
creative.
yeah, yeah,
Now, if you,
right?
I ask my students sometimes to draw their future. Some people
Mm,
colors. Some people use one pen, one blue pen with one black, sheet of paper.
mm, mm,
This is all the energy you can put into your creative process. No, if you're creating, create with joy. Don't just do. I have to do an assignment.
correct.
So don't get into your creative process with that. I have to do it energy. It's I get to do
Absolutely.
it. It's a different
Oh,
thing.
that's a nice one. I get to do it, right? Because it is literally a blessing in itself if you think about it. The fact that you have limbs that work and that you can write and that you're literally putting your thoughts into, your body, that connection. And then obviously talking about affirming it. So even there is that affirmation that you're constantly like, driving from the inside. And then, like you said, the visualization is where you start to see it in different ways. We talked about that briefly, where we are doing it
Yeah, yeah.
whichever way you're seeing yourself or you're in that or a little bit of both.
As long as it makes
Some
you feel good. If it doesn't make
as
you,
long as it makes you feel good, and like you rightly said, if it's not happening, maybe rearrange the furniture, as they say. So put more people in,
yes,
whatever it takes to get your body to pop, right? And then of course we're talking about bridging potentials, right? It's all about knocking off those blocks, those uh, physical blocks, mental blocks, and there are enough and more processes out there. And repeating it again here because it's really, really important. You want to associate with people who know how to do it and who do it and practice it on a daily basis. I will be linking, dropping the links below for you to, check out more of what Kartika does, her programs, and things like that. And then, of course, whether, going by yesterday's talk, there is merit to the waking up early morning. Now, that needn't be a make or break at this point because we're talking about starting off. And especially as a solopreneur, you're juggling too many things.
Yeah.
So the fact that it's there in your mind in itself is your first step, which is again about being present. And very, very important. We're talking about learning, even learning from this. I know we've learned a lot just by being on this call and just, riffing. And yet there's
Especially
so much
Wednesday,
of
the Guru's day to rest. I was like, what is it?
where was this? I need to know more about this. I'll share that link with you. But yeah, it's like literally being open to learning every single moment, every single day. Like as that cliche goes, like lifelong learners. It's true, right? Because as long as we stay as a lifelong learner, as long as we stay as a lifelong client, a customer, that's when we are in the process. That's when we are not saying, I've arrived, I don't need any more, right? And very important, like I was saying before also, that you're surrounding yourself with successful people. So literally look around you, look at these people who you associate with on a daily basis. It could be your clients, it could be your, people that you collaborate with. Are they when I say good, I don't mean in a, what's the word for it? I'm not talking in a ego state, but are they doing more than you, right? And when you see them, you're like, I want to know, I want to, take some of what they do and take that energy and put it into what I do, right? Because energy is limitless. It's not like you're going to steal their energy, right? So that's something that's so important, right? And again, the awareness, and this is the hard one actually, which is, can you actually admit to the kind of people who you surround yourself with? It's a hard one for a lot of people.
Yeah, for me, it was
Because it
just
means
my
a
student.
lot of change on a regular basis, right? I mean, I've seen the kind of people I've met 1 year ago, 6 months ago, 9 months ago, 3 months ago, and even now. It's a world of difference. But to
I
be
had
willing to,
Yeah, at MTS, one guy was like, "Oh, I'll bet my millions that something," and I looked at him and I said, "You made him." He's from India, okay, Mumbai.
mm,
Made $1 million already, and he's like, "Yeah, I live in Mumbai. What is $1 million in Mumbai?" It was so normal for him, and so I turned around and told the next guy, I was like, "Hey, did you know he's made $1 million?" And he's like, "Wow, okay." And then he writes in his arm, okay, he's like, "So have I," and I'm sitting in between. Going, okay, so we're all normal people. I mean, it's not like something it becomes your new normal. You get
exactly.
to meet all these people who are just like you, but who achieved, and so now you're learning. It's not like
And I'm glad you put it this way. I'm glad you framed it this way, literally, like while you were being framed by these two people. I'm glad you said this because for the longest time, this is one of my biggest struggles, which is, when you have money, you turn into an a-hole. When you have money, bad shit happens, and all that crap that we've kind of learned or picked up from forever, right? The difference is, for me, one of the first ahas was when I was watching and listening and really like absorbing everything that was Harv, and that journey when it began, and then it eventually got to, Sid, it got to Rajiv. Looking at them sort of is a reminder to me that you can be normal and yet do amazing things
yes,
for lots and lots and lots and lots of people.
yeah,
And it's just now about saying, okay, are you ready for the challenge? So for you listening, for you watching, this is the question that I want to leave you with, right? Because we're really talking at the end of the day about getting the hard shit done first, which means it's not only about discipline, but you got to be willing to enjoy that process. Because if it's the hard is just hard for the sake of hard, then it loses its
yeah.
purpose.
It's for the
You,
bigger.
you need to remember why you took it up in the first place. You could be literally working a job right now, right? Probably earning 10 times as much, probably, maybe. But the point is that you've got something bigger in mind. So on that note, we're going to kind of leave it as an open loop there if you didn't pick up on that already, that there is a lot more out there, but it begins now. So as I've been mentioning before, I will be dropping links of what Kartika does. Follow her, subscribe. We are creators. We live in 2020. It's all about creating content. Kartika creates content. You've seen that I create content, and for you listening in, I will be creating more content. So this is the kind of stuff that I can tell you this without a doubt, for the kind of time and money and intent that we invest in ourselves and in the work that we do. There's a lot more coming, and just keep, grinding and polishing. I keep smiling. Uh, We'd love to hear from you in the comments. Tell us what you thought. Tell us what you learned. Tell us what you've started applying. Come back maybe in 3 months and drop a comment here and tell us about how your life changed. Because that is really what this whole show is about, right? The Solopreneurs Weekly Gupshup. It is about changing lives. Literally, I used to say changing lives one person at a time. I think now it's literally one moment at a time. And that moment can be, 5 people, 500 people, 500 million. The numbers are just secondary. So on that note, again, thank you very much for tuning in. Be sure to tune in next week. And, I know that we'd love to have you back on the show. I'd love to have you back on the show, Kartika. And, we're going to do research and figure out what more, good stuff, cool stuff, life-changing stuff that we can share with you as we go on our journeys. And on that happy note, keep grinding, keep polishing, go well. Wish you guys all the best. And back to you, Kartika. I'm going to leave you to with the last word.
The last word is really be mindful, because your mind is really can make or break you. And if you cannot wield it, you're not your mind, it's a tool. If you don't wield it in the right direction, it will wield you in the wrong direction. So all of the other stuff is great, but the mindfulness really, I mean, if we could do a segment of mindfulness alone, would be fantastic.
Awesome.
But even though mindfulness will probably be the last on your mind, it should be the first one. It should always be the
brilliant. So we've all, as you can see, we are constantly creating. So we've already got one really, really important piece, which is all about mindfulness. So we'd love to hear, both of us would love to hear your comments, your suggestions. When we're talking about mindfulness, what is it that you'd like to know specifically? You can leave one comment down below. You can say, I want to know these 3 things, 5 things. How do I do this? Why should I do this? If I do it, what can happen? Because this is the space that we live in, right? And as you definitely know, it is about both personal development and business development. When you put them together, you can live a life, you can live your best life ever. And these are not just words anymore. It used to be at one point. I had missed one very important piece, and that's why my message is I don't want you to miss this anymore. So we're looking to blend both, right? Personal development and business development. So on that note, thank you once again for tuning in, for listening, even while you may have been doing, things in parallel, because that's the world we live in, but you're here. So on that note, thank you very much. Thank you, Kartika, and I shall see you on the other side.
See you guys.
And I'm just going to pause.